Hello there, snowflakes and Samaritans. Welcome to Basically Misled.
I'm Dagny.
And I'm Day.
We give advice. 50% is life-changing, 50% will leave you crying in a stairwell by the end of the day. You decide which is which.
Come procrastinate with us while we chatter endlessly about things you could probably just Google.
Today we are talking about boredom.
Yes.
But I want to start off with talking about scheduling your day to be most productive and when boredom happens within that day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that first.
Okay.
Because in a way I feel like some people are like, oh, I'm so busy, like that's why you wouldn't get bored or something.
Mm-hmm.
So recently, I've been trying to schedule, more into my day. You've seen me do this, I need to pack it in, because part of me is like, okay, when I get home from school, I'm gonna be, it's really hard to get myself to do stuff, so I've started trying to do, more in the morning as, a way to, schedule things. Not that I'm ever bored. I'm never bored in the morning. I just thought of that actually, but I am actually not. Although actually, maybe sometimes during yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Only in the sense of that I'm like, when is this gonna end? I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
And so maybe a little bit then, but otherwise, I'm not bored in the morning. But I think that's because I don't know. Actually, I don't know why that is, but I think my main point of boredom right now in my schedule, because I do, right now in the morning I do yoga, and then I work on doing some, online, classes type stuff, and I make food, I take a shower. It's all, very routine, but routine in a way that doesn't actually make me bored. Surprisingly or not surprisingly.
It might be because you know your routine and you know what's coming next, that you don't have to think about what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore you're not bored. Because you're not trying to make things up. You just know what's happening. Always.
Yeah. And then I go to class in which I am pretty much planned to be bored in multiple lectures. Actually, 2 specific lectures. I pretty much just plan to be bored because I've wondered for a long time why this is. But in a way, I feel like it's because the stuff that they're talking about is a review of a material we were supposed to have gone over. So the more I didn't do my homework, the less bored I am. But if I did actually do all of it and really studied it, then I'm just bored. And so right. I draw. That's how I deal with that boredom.
Mm-hmm.
But then the rest of the day is it's varied. But I feel like boredom doesn't really hit then either, because there is so much to do. I feel that's something that keeps boredom from creeping up on me in the evening is I'm like, oh, you want something to do? Have this giant list of assignments. And I'm like, oh, I'm not bored anymore. Anyway, when does boredom happen in your day?
Well, okay, so I feel like I kind of have been doing what you do, because I plan out my mornings. It's the way I always operate in the mornings. I do that, and then I have such a planned week out, because I am either at work or class or doing my internship or doing homework or waiting to go to class or on the bus going somewhere or walking. That stresses me out a lot. But I have been going to the library on Tuesdays when I have time between work and class. And I feel like I probably have boredom sometimes there, because I'm doing homework. Because that's the time where I do all of my homework. Or I have scheduled things to do for that time. It's not all my homework. That wouldn't be possible. But there are a lot of times where during that, I'm kind of okay, I need to think about something else. This is too much. And then I kind of just mindlessly go around on my computer, or I text somebody for a couple of minutes, and then I'm okay, focus. And I force myself back into the homework mode, and I usually, like, when I'm on the bus or walking to or from school or, like, to my internship, I listen to music. Like, that's been my main thing recently. But the other day, Friday, I think, yeah, Friday, I forgot my headphones. And so I was like, okay, you know what, like, whatever. Just, like, don't run back to the house for your headphones. Like, don't. And so then I also didn't really allow myself to look at my phone when I was on the bus. And so I was kind of bored. But I was like, accept this moment of silence where you don't have to do anything and you can just stare out the window and think. And so I don't really ever, like, feel super bored. I feel like, unless I'm, like, specifically not allowed to do something that I want to do. Mm-hmm. But, like, recently at my internship, I had somebody come up to me and they were like, can I watch TV? I was like, I think we're about to do this. Or, like, no, not right now. Mm-hmm. They asked me multiple times, so I don't remember which response I gave to them that time. And then they were like, but I'm so bored. Like, I'm so bored always here. And I was like, I get bored too, but I find things to do. Mm-hmm. And then they were able to come up with the solution of let's play Uno. Mm-hmm. So, like, I made them kind of, like, think about, okay, you're bored. You're not allowed to watch TV right now. What else can you do? And then we played Uno together. And, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about doing your homework, because I don't know if it's because math is just, like, more fresh for me, because I haven't been studying math for years, but I do not get bored doing math homework. I usually get more bored, like, doing reading type things.
Well, I will say that almost all of my homework is reading. Mm-hmm. So, like, when I'm doing when I'm doing the quizzes, I also get bored. Like, just yesterday, I was doing some quiz stuff, and I just started to fall asleep because it was so boring for me. But that's because I think the material I'm covering right now is very basic. Like, what's the word?
Entry level?
No, it's just
beginner?
Like, no, it's like normal for me. It's common sense. Oh. That's what it is. It's just common sense. Because, like, okay, one of my textbooks isn't as much because, like, I'm learning about new, different kind of ways that we are, as people, oppress people, or are oppressed, or are suppressing people, things like that. But, one of my textbooks is just about, like, ethics. And I feel like it's all so common sense for me. And I know that's just the way, like, I am, and, like, other people aren't really that way. But I'm like, no, duh, you don't, like, tell your client a bunch of personal information about you or lead them on to think you're best friends when you know they have attachment issues. Or, like, of course you tell them about all of the consent stuff, and it's informed consent, and, like, yes, you have to, like, know about the laws in another state if you're trying to practice in another state. Like, it's all very common sense to me. And so I'm kind of just, like, sitting there reading this stuff and being like, no, duh, well, I guess I'll write down this sentence because, like, I'm trying to take notes because that keeps me focused. Mm-hmm. But it's all just, like, I'm like, no, duh, like, of course it's this way. Like, I don't think there's really been a bunch of, or, like, even, like, 5 things in the textbook that I'm like, oh, really, that's how you do it? Like, I would have done it the other way.
Right.
And so it's just, I'm just, like, reading information I already know.
Yeah, I think if I'm reading something, the other, like, if I don't know it, then my thing is I'm like, who cares? Actually, it's an interesting question because, like, when we say bored, what do we mean by that? Like, how do you experience boredom? Because I feel like people have different definitions.
Yeah. Okay. For me right now, thinking about boredom, it's when I feel like I want to focus on something else, but I don't know what to focus on.
Mm.
I feel like I need, like, the dictionary definition of boredom to
no,
really
it's your
remember.
personal. How do you use it?
But, like, okay, so, like, when I'm, like, doing homework and I'm bored in my mind, like, as I think of boredom, it's where I'm kind of just, like, I want to do something different, but I don't know what I want to do, so I'm going to, like, go on Facebook, and then I'm going to check my email, and then I'm going to check Facebook again, and then I'm going to go on my Instagram or look at my Snapchat, and then I'm going to check my email again. And so I don't really know what I want to do, but or it just makes me sleepy. I feel like that is my definition of bored, if it's making me sleepy.
Okay.
I don't know.
My definition that I like is it's when I am wanting to change activities to the point of agitation.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, because sometimes you're, like, sitting there and you're like, oh, gee, I wish I could, like, go for a walk right now, but I'm doing my homework. Yeah. Oh, well, and then you just keep doing your homework. Right. Like, that's not being bored, but it's, like, to the point of, like, oh, my God. But I don't think you need to know what activity you want to change to, but it's just wanting to change activities is causing you agitation. Yeah. So it's, like, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, my God, I want to go, like, whatever, go for a walk, like, in the sun. I don't want to be doing this homework. Like, why am I sitting here? Or just, like, in class where I'm like, stop talking. I just would rather just, like, sit here alone and draw. But I would say that, to me, not knowing what to do, I would not really include that as part of my definition in boredom specifically, because I feel like not knowing what to do, for me, is just, like, a whole other category of, like, thinking of something to do, which, honestly, to me, I like that activity. I wouldn't call thinking of some... You hate that? I hate it. I wouldn't call thinking of something else to do boring or really in any way, like, a troubling activity to me, because I feel like there is so much that I could change to, and I like thinking, so the process of thinking doesn't trouble me, and the picking the activity usually doesn't trouble me either, with rare exceptions.
I'm so fucking indecisive. I can't, and I never know what I'm really feeling, because I'm always feeling a multitude of different things. It's like when I'm trying to read a book lately, and by lately I mean the past, like, 3 years, where, like, I'm like, oh, like, I really want to read a book. Okay, what type of book should I read? Oh, well, I don't know, like, I'll just pick up, like, this book that somebody recommended to me. And then I start reading it, and then I'm, like, so bored by it. Because it's, like, not what I wanted. I did that literally the other day, because I was like, oh, I really want to read this book to, like, finish it. And then I pick it up, and I'm like, wait, this isn't the book I wanted. Because in my head, it was something different. I don't know.
I know. I feel like that's a very, like... I feel like that's a more normal definition of boredom, is including, like... a dissatisfaction with the activities that you can think of or have tried doing. Mm-hmm.
I'm always dissatisfied with what I'm doing.
I feel like I'm usually... I don't know. I feel like I don't have that sense of, like, oh, I should be, like, doing something else. I feel like the big thing that happens with is reading. And I just think to myself, like, I'm reading this and I'm like, wow, this is new information. And somebody, like... spend a really, like, long time, like, making this, like, you know, presentable. And I just think to myself, who cares? I don't care about this at all. Like, yeah. Who cares about that? Or just, like, it just seems, like, dull. And I'm like, I don't care about this.
Right. I feel like for me, like, some of the stuff that we've been reading has been really interesting and beneficial to my gaining knowledge. But... it's not worth it to me because we do nothing with it in class.
Yeah. It's hard, though, because, like, in theory, knowing all of that will help you, like, in your future career. That's why, honestly, I have a difficult time with school. Because I feel like it's good, but also for it to be so theoretical and to not apply it drives me crazy. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of what you're saying, is that if you don't apply it in class, where are you applying it 5 years in the future? That's not really, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, like, and if I am using it in the future, it's probably going to be in another class that I'm, like, learning the same exact material in. Or whatever. Yeah. I also feel like part of me, feels the need to do multiple things at once.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so I'm doing, like, this reading, but then I feel like I also need to be doing something else, like texting something on my phone or listening to something. And so, like, I think it helps when I've been doing my notes lately, because I like, type my notes while I'm reading, and that helps me. But, like, if we are, even just, like, watching something, I feel like I need to, like, be doing something else. I can't just sit there and watch something. Yeah. So then I feel like I have to be on my phone, because, like, what else will I do?
Yeah. I'm not always, like, the best at this, but I do have, I think, a little bit of an unusual dedication to doing one thing at a time, compared to, I feel like, most people who grew up with smartphones, I guess. It's not that I always do it, like, for sure I don't, but I do, like, I see it as, like, a higher value activity to do one thing at a time. Like, if you're reading, taking notes on that reading. Right. Even listening to music and doing something else, if it has lyrics, I'm not into it. And I know people... I have to listen to music. A lot of people are like,
to focus sometimes.
That it helps them.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. And, like, when I was pretty young, as in, like, middle school or something, you know, I read this study and it was like, most people can't multitask, because what you're basically doing is switching from activity to the other activity to one activity from the other activity, back and forth. You can't actually do them at the same time. Actually, I think some people can. You aren't one of them. Let me tell you, listener, if you think you're one of them, you're not. Because it's like almost nobody.
We watched a TED Talk, and in it, she was saying how, like, nobody can do two things at once.
I think very few people can, but it's in the same way of how some people can remember every single thing they've seen.
Right.
The TED Talk, by the way, is How Boredom Can Lead to Your Most Brilliant Ideas. Yeah. It was pretty good.
I had issues with it, but it wasn't in the information that was being given. It was in the way it was presented. I didn't like certain things. Yeah. But it was a good TED Talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't life-changing.
No.
But I think it makes a good point about the fact that there's value in moments where you're, like, sitting around not doing anything, and I think that's kind of, like, built into something like yoga, or if you do meditation, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of that moment of, like, doing nothing in a sense, but I feel like it's also doing something. But the biggest thing that I got from that talk is that she was talking about how people basically use their phones to fill every spare moment. And we had an experience with this very recently. Our power went out because of all the snow, because it is snowing buckets. It's still snowing, people.
Yep.
Has been for hours, and it hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
But, the power was out in the morning, and I was like, oh, I better not use my phone, like, just because who knows when it will come back on, like, better just,
it could be all night.
Right, like, it was probably going to be fine, but I was like, don't stupidly waste your battery on Tinder or something if the power is out. And so, but it was, like, a lot harder than I thought it would be, because, like, honestly, if you asked me, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'm better than the average person at not looking at my phone a lot. Maybe I don't know if I am, though. But maybe not.
You're on your phone a lot, reading.
As far as, like, checking it all the time. I think I'm a lot worse than I was, honestly, even 2 years ago.
I saw you checking your phone quite a bit the other day.
That's what I'm saying. I've gotten a lot worse. Yeah. I think I was probably better, but now I'm not at all. And I think that's, like, it creeps up on you.
It does.
It really does. I think I'm still a little bit better in the sense that I've sometimes lost my phone for hours, and then when I try to find it, I realize that the last time I saw it was like 5 hours ago, and then I'm like, oh. And I feel like most people don't do that.
Right.
Because if you need to check it all the time. But I am pretty closely linked with my phone right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like a big thing is Tinder.
Yeah.
Because you constantly want to check to see, like, what's happening there. But, I don't know. For me, I feel like I have noticed a very big attachment growing with my phone. And I think that, comes from kind of just, like, always wanting to be connected to people. Or, like, a lot, I think how it really started was because I wasn't, like, wanting to be on my phone all the time, but if I was hanging out with people, they would just kind of be sitting there on their phone. And so then I would just start being on my phone.
Social crutch.
Yeah. Or, like, if I'm, like, waiting for somebody or, like, don't want to be bothered, then I just go onto my phone so I look like I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
Or don't bother me type thing.
I feel like I used to do it more fake, but now it's, like, actually real. Like, I do have something to do.
No.
And it's just, and I'm like, wow.
No, I think that's what happens is you think, like, at first it's fake. Like, I used to, like, just check my email to, like, appear like I was busy. And now it's a thing that, okay, I've gotten way better about this. I don't do this anymore. But it would get to the point where I would open up my phone, I would check my email, and then I would get rid of everything on there that needed to be opened. Because I keep a clean email. And then, like, I would be like, I would turn off my phone, and literally a second later, I would turn it back on and just click on the email button without even trying. Or I would, like, have exited it out of the email, and a second later, just automatically type back into it.
Oh my god, it's like being a social smoker.
Yeah.
Quotes. And then, but you actually smoke all the time.
Right. And so, like, I haven't really had this issue anymore. Like, I still check my email sometimes to, like, use it as a social crutch. But, usually it's been more like I'm waiting for an email. So I'm like, come on, email me. And, yeah. But I feel like there have been times lately where I just get a little agitated when I can't check my phone.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, need it.
There's so many times, like, this video was talking about people trying to, like, decrease their usage,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, like, what would that be like as just, like, an easy experiment? Which is, what would be, like, don't use your phone in times where you're just in between activities. Because I feel like, because if I'm, like, sitting down on the couch to, like, I don't know, spend 30 minutes goofing off, and I'm on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about that, like, you're walking to class, or you're, like, walking really anywhere between two places. Like, you know? Or you're, like, waiting for something to load on your computer.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Just not being on your phone on any of those in between times. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so often.
Yeah.
And I think you really... It's not something that I think is easy to just, like... To be like, oh yeah, I just have a natural inclination to have total balance on my phone. Like, those apps are paying, like, millions of dollars a year to be the most annoying little creatures that make you look at it all the time.
Yeah.
They're paying so much money all the time so that you do that.
Right.
You can't just naturally be like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. Like, it's really conscious and, like, restricting yourself, I feel like, to even have, like... Or to like, go towards, like, an ideal relationship with your phone.
Right.
I think I've slipped, man.
Yeah.
I need to get better.
Yeah. I think, like, for me, like, my phone is in the other room right now from where we're at. And, like, I'm kind of, like, I wonder if somebody messaged me. But I'm also like, I could give less of a shit about it because, like, I'm not feeling, like, anxious without it right now. But I think for me, it's the times in between. But, like, when I'm walking places, I'm not usually on my phone. Lately, like, I probably used to be like that, but, like, lately, like, okay, you could argue I'm on my phone because I'm listening to music that is coming from my phone.
I feel like that counts at least a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm not actively looking at my phone while I'm walking places.
How often do you press play or pause or skip a song?
I usually press play.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Just never pauses.
Well, not until I press play. I have, like, 20 minutes where maybe I skip one song, or maybe I'm, like, putting things on cue, but I usually do that before I leave the house. And then when I get to work or get to class, then I turn it off.
Music is a bit of an interesting thing, because to me, I feel like it's still enough outside some, like, stimulation that I'm like, you are going to be less engaged with your environment, and in a way trying to do a little bit of multitasking.
Yeah.
Like, somewhat can fade into the background, but it's not going to be total background all the time. So you are still trying to do, like, a little bit of multitasking. And I'm not a fan of doing that all the time. I feel like some people are like, but music is different than trying to do other types of multitasking. But I don't think it is if you're doing it all the time.
Yeah. I definitely feel like sometimes I can't have silence. And that's because I listen to music so much. But, like, I don't know. A week ago, I took a walk. And when it was, like, the first time that it kind of snowed. And I took a walk because I was feeling that agitation about what I was doing. It was editing a podcast. Sorry. But I was feeling this, like, big agitation, and I just had to get out of the house and be away from, like, this house climate. And I was already planning to talk with my mom. So it's like, okay, like, I'll go explore some because nobody wants to explore with me. And I always want to explore with people, but it's just never happens. So it's like, fine, just, like, be a big girl and do it yourself. And, then I was just, like, walking around for hours, and, like, an hour and a half, 2 hours. 2 hours, I think, I was outside. And I talked to my mom for a small amount of it, and I definitely took a lot of photos and videos, and, like, I was on my phone Snapchatting or texting people about it, so, like, I wasn't really just in the moment, and I was also listening to music, but I was very much trying to just, like, center myself, and I think the music helped me kind of center myself, but also just, like, being around and walking in, like, water and snow and not really engaging with anybody in person.
Yeah.
It's really good. But I would say I wasn't off of my phone, and if I had been off of my phone, I would have been agitated that I was off of my phone.
I've gone on several walks recently where I purposely left my phone behind, and it does agitate me a little bit, even though I'm like, what would I need this for?
Right. I just want to, like, be able to check it. Like, that's it. You know, I'm like, I need to know if somebody has messaged me. And no, I'm not going to message them back right away, but I just need to know.
I'm less worried about people messaging me, and I'm like, what if something happens? And they're like, I need to contact somebody.
Yeah.
Or like somebody, I guess messages, but more like emergency type messages. Right. And I'm like, you don't need emergency type messages, like, 24/7. Like, you're not even getting them when you're asleep. Like,
right.
You know? Yeah. And so, the other thing, though, taking photos on your phone, I think also ruins a little bit of peace of doing one thing to me.
It does.
And I think that's another thing that people are sometimes like, oh, but I'm, like, just taking photos.
I hate it.
But I think that I'm not in the moment. Like, and maybe if you were, I don't know, I think it becomes second nature to people to be like, I'm taking photos and doing this activity. Mm-hmm. As in, like, that's, like, one thing. But I'm like, no, that's, like, all that you already have a second thing that you're doing.
I feel like, for me, I have torn emotions on it, because, like I just said earlier, I hate when, like, people are just constantly taking photos when I'm, like, trying to hang out with them or, like, enjoy a walk. Like, no. Put your fucking phone away. For one, I don't want to be photographed. But then at the same time, I've been lately feeling like I don't have enough photos.
Yeah.
And it's not, like, I really like having photos of scenery, but just, like, photos to document moments of my life.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm so opposed to it a lot of the time. And I'm still very opposed to it. But I feel like I want a little bit more of it. But, like, I don't know. I really don't like when we're, like, going on a walk and people just, like, have to take photos or videos, like, constantly. Like,
yeah.
I like to, like, take some photos if it's, like, really pretty out. But, like, take a couple photos, put your phone away, keep walking.
Yeah. The way I think about it is, like, I do make an effort to take photos if it's, like, a special or, like, unusual thing that we did. But otherwise, like, it is nice to have, like, some photos of just, like, hanging around. But I don't need, like, a bunch of those. Like, I think, like, what do I want to look back on later? Like, we just made a snowman yesterday, and I'm, like, so happy to have that photo.
Yeah, same.
But I don't need a photo of us, like, cooking in the kitchen. Like,
No.
I feel like one photo like that from, like, every 2 years would maybe be kind of interesting.
You already have a photo of me at the sink washing something.
I know.
From last year. We can wait quite a few years.
You're right. And so, yeah, so I think that, as long as I'm taking pictures of, like, special events, I feel like I'm good on photos of myself in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so torn about it all. I don't like it, yet I feel it's necessary.
Yeah, I feel like I really examined how I felt, like, or, like, what I was doing with my phone, like, freshman year, and I was, like, I was in a better place with it, and I feel like I've just devolved since then, and I think Tinder is a big thing, and, like, I like notifications in the way that it makes me feel like I don't have to check things. Like, I never check my email, usually, because it will send me a notification. So I'm like, if I haven't gotten one of those. But Tinder has been so bad at sending me notifications.
Right, that you feel necessary to go on the app to check.
Right, which is, like, so annoying. And, like, now I'm going to stop doing that because I'm just, well, mostly. But then again, not totally, because I do want to, like, I don't know. It is for a purpose, but maybe I should think about how to, like, restrict it more.
Yeah, I feel like, for me, I've gotten used to going on Snapchat quite a bit. And sometimes, like, even today, Snapchat didn't send me a notification. And so then I'm like, oh, why didn't they snap me back? But then they have, and then I'm like, oh my god, Day, you're such a drama queen, like, stop it. And
oh my god, do you know what that is?
What?
When things don't send us notifications, but usually do. It's like, that's like how you train dogs. That's how you train people. That's why casinos work, is because if it mostly works, but sometimes doesn't, then you want to do it more than if it worked all the time.
Right. Because, like, if I trusted it, then that would be one thing. I'd be like, oh, I don't have any new notifications.
Right, but since you don't, you have to, like...
Yeah.
That's, like...
And especially if, like,
God.
I want it.
Such an
to
addiction.
send me something.
We probably all have phone addictions. Like, let's be real.
Yeah. I don't... Like, even if I had a flip phone, I think I'd have an addiction.
You know, I think it's actually... Watching that video did make me think, because she had a lot of, like, clips of what people talking about their phones. And I felt like that actually, like, young people's narratives about how they interact with their phones are actually pretty fascinating when you think about, like, how, like, society has changed, like, over time, and, like, what it will be like in the future. I mean, people, like, it's like a relationship, you know? So them talking about that relationship is just going to be interesting. I'm always, like, I'm interested in relationships.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. The phone is such a weird thing that I try to not be addicted to, and yet I am. Just another millennial.
We're just so basic, Jay.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I feel like the type of, like, loss I would feel if I had to, like, go without a phone for 2 months is, like, I feel like a similar type of loss as if, like, all of my other possessions were pooled and half of them left for 2 months.
Right, yeah.
Half of all my possessions.
Is equivalent to your phone.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, not this specific phone, but having a phone to use, you know?
Right.
God.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been very aware of the amount I use my phone and what I've been using it for, and the fact that it's not good. Mm-hmm. Yet I still do it.
That's another thing I hear a lot, is sometimes I, like, you know, speculate with other people, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's so bad. But it's really hard to change people's attitude, like, to, I guess, to anything addictive, it's hard to change people's attitude towards.
I mean, like, it was really nice to be on the bus and to not look at my phone. And, like, sure, I itched to look at it, but I didn't. And, like, yesterday when we made the snowman, I hardly ever thought about my phone.
That's true. I didn't think about it at all doing that.
Yeah. Like, I think I might have thought about it because I was like, oh, we need a picture. Mm-hmm. But that was, like, it. Because I was, like, just in the moment. Making a snowman. So wholesome.
We're so wholesome. Guess what, guys? It had a real carrot nose and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was, like, 8 feet tall.
8 feet? No. Like 6.5.
Oh, right.
It was not that much taller than you.
I was trying to add inches, and then I think it actually came out as feet in my head. So...
Okay.
It was maybe 7 feet tall, depending on where you're measuring from. Measuring from the ground, probably 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Well, now it's even taller, because it's still snowing, so it just got... Maybe now it's 7 feet tall. 8 feet. That's so tall. Oh my god. It's definitely not 8 feet.
No.
Although it could be if we got it like a really tall hat. Like a 2-foot tall hat.
Okay, but that's just cheating.
Okay, you're right.
Then it would be almost 9 feet.
What if it was a snow hat? Would that be cheating? No.
No, it wouldn't.
We should make a snow hat. It's so dumb though, because even if we got it, we're totally on lock with this phone situation. Like, our relationship is perfect. And then, like... Flash forward 5 years from now, we, like, didn't keep it up.
Right, like, I don't think I would be able to keep it up.
It's like it's a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Anyway, but to work on this constant struggle, we are going to download an app that monitors our phone usage. I think we should just monitor for the first week and then make changes the second week.
Yeah. Although I bet you
go back to the first
that
week,
we're monitoring,
the third week.
Knowing that we are monitoring our phone usage, I feel like I'll try to use it less. But I doubt I will succeed.
I'm going to try not to consciously use it less.
Yeah.
So you should, I'm sure it will affect it. But I'm going to try, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, the app's watching. I guess I shouldn't pick it up now. I'm going to try to do the same thing that I always do.
I will probably end up doing it.
No, you should. Yeah.
I will.
Okay. I'm guessing we'll forget after, like, the first 2 days.
That's true. I've downloaded a lot of apps on my phone that I just end up forgetting about. Like Duolingo.
App clutter. Anyway, so we'll let you know later how that goes and if it's worth doing or if we thought it was a total bust. So you can't try it yet. Wait for us to...
do not try it.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah.
Wait for the adults to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's it for today. Our interrogation continues with today's question. Are you your phone's bitch?
You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Messy Castbox, and YouTube. Just search Basically Misled.
If you have questions you want us to answer on the show or stuff you want us to talk about, email us at basicallymisled@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and good luck with your future endeavors.